So if you know me, this was a kind of one of them character fragrance videos that was always gonna come, because of my love for this show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, as you see from the title. And it's one of them that just hit me that sweet spot of growing up, I guess. And I was the kind of, I suppose, the target audience. And it's such a masterpiece of a show. It's not just iconic of its time. It's not just iconic to have crossing really deep issues. I mean, it sounds mad now, doesn't it? But over 20 years ago, it was the first TV show to have a lesbian relationship. Not lesbian sex, though, that had been seen before, but a lesbian relationship. Which is, sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It also, there are very controversial parts of it. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've watched it. But again, it was kind of a necessary part of it, because it was part of this journey of growing up. And it, obviously there's a lot of symbology in it. Some of the demons represent different things. They all go through different adolescent trials and tribulations through each of the monsters, demons, etc. And then obviously there's the point that the demons are the demons. You can't help it. The worst person, the worst bad guy, the most evil person in it was a human. And it kind of goes through all these different parts, and it's just I am waffling on, but I can't do justice to it in a little video, can I? But I wrote assignments at university on this. It was one of the reasons why maybe I would have got my masters paid for. Never did it, stupid boy. But just that kind of being able to, it doesn't matter how many times you watch it, there'll be more levels, more different kind of, you get that, oh, that's what that's getting at and such like. Anyway, I've limited it to 10 characters, but I'm thinking probably the 10 get the most screen time. Mostly it's got my favourites in, but there's a few others not in there, but maybe there'll be a part 2 one day. But yes, let's get into the video. Let's watch. So the first character is obviously the title character, Buffy Ann Summers, and she is of course the most important part of the story. And I'll get with what fragrance I've picked, and then I'll go into why, etc. after Noir de Noir from Tom Ford. Okay, it will make sense. Right, Buffy is kind of the person's eyes we watch the show through, although she does obviously go out of it a little bit, because is it a spoiler? She dies. She sacrifices herself. But obviously the entire kind of series follows her journey from being quite a shallow, typical teenager to having all the responsibilities of an adult and the pressures, etc. So yeah, she does start off quite superficial, quite whatever. She's into boys and clothes. The attraction to the wrong man, angel, a vampire, and really throughout it she makes some pretty bad choices. She goes through the responsibility of this job, if you like, but it's not your usual job saving the world, is it? But it's all the pressure she feels on her because of that, and then everybody looks up to her because of this, and then obviously that gets her down because there's all this pressure on her of having to be something, having to be a hero, etc. And then again, once she comes back from being dead, she's kind of empty inside, and again this could represent many different things, Won't go into it, it's not what this is about, but yeah, she does stuff to feel, including a relationship that is very wrong for her. But anyway, that goes on. She sort of switches personalities. She's quite miserable, empty, dejected. And she gets quite bratty and arrogant. She suffers sexual violence, has to come back from that. When she fails, everybody's down on her like a ton of bricks. And anyway, it just kind of describes, and obviously what it comes to, the conclusion in the end of Buffy, not again going deep, it's very scratching the surface, is that obviously all the characters are part of her. I suppose it's true with all of us, all our friends. We all have different bits of us that represent different things, and people who bring out different strengths and failures in us. Anyway, noir de noir. Why noir de noir? Well, apart from the obvious that she loves vampires, it is this very beautiful fragrance. No doubt about that. It's got that sweetness, that depth, that maturity of that kind of red winey smell coming through it. It's also got the danger, hasn't it? You know, the seductive chocolatey patchouli, the earthy patchouli, that tiny slither of oud. All these kind of twists and turns of, oh, this is beautiful, but it's dangerous. I should, but I shouldn't. And I think that very much represents Buffy and her personality and her journey quite well. So yeah, I won't keep off of that. For Buffy, noir de noir. So yeah, next is Willow, who is Buffy's best friend, and probably one of the most, again, well, they're all important characters, but she's definitely up there. And probably, if you look at it from a kind of different way, she's the most powerful of all the characters, I'd say. But anyway, Willow starts off... Alright, what I've picked for Willow is Bulgari's Black Orient. Right, we'll get into that. But Willow starts off this meek, kind of shy, geeky girl. She knows a lot of stuff. She's not very popular. She gets bullied a bit. She thinks she's in love with her best friend, Xander, who, because he gives her a bit of attention ultimately, and she doesn't have much confidence and whatnot. But anyway, Willow. She sort of, as she grows up and that, she starts to, she gets into a book. She's the computer expert and she starts reading more and more. And she tinkles a bit with a little bit with the mystic dark arts and whatnot. And anyway, she meets why do all the names escape me? She meets a werewolf. Anyway, they fall in love. She starts to learn. He doesn't know he is at first, but yeah, anyway, they fall in love, etc. Kaiser gets it, he breaks her heart, and that kind of pushes her more and more towards the magic, which is obviously symbolic of something that we'll get into soon. Obviously this has become a motorway. This is the road where I can take pictures in the middle of the road because there's never any traffic. Anyway, she starts getting more and more into the magic, and she meets a girl, Tara, who's quite into this magic game and that. Willow takes in more and more and learns more and more. Obviously this is representative of drugs, and it gets a lot deeper, and the addiction grows and grows as she gets more and more powerful. She also kind of realises that, in a funny kind of way, she's more powerful than Buffy. And obviously because she's been a little envious of Buffy and doesn't like the way Buffy's a leader and talks down to her, etc., which pushes her more and more towards that. But she does fall in love with Tara. Tara brings out the best of her. Beautiful relationship. Anyway, she can't give up the magic though. She knows she's pushed it a bit too far sometimes to try to get her to give it up, but she can't. Anyway, this all comes to a crescendo. Tara is murdered by, like, that aforementioned evil man, Warren. And she goes apeshit, she loses it. She channels all the dark energy and all the dark spells. It goes after Warren. And it's a controversial thing in Buffy. She does kill him. He is human. Maybe deserved it. That wasn't all he did. He was quite a despicable man. But then again, yeah. Anyway, Willow eventually calms down and finds her peace and finds herself again. Mainly thanks to Xander as it happens. But anyway, Black Orient. Why have I picked that? Because you could say Willow started off as the original Man in Black. And the original Man in Black is sweet. And it's got darkness in it. It's got bits of leather, spice, beautiful tuberose in it. It's a little bit boozy. The Man in Black Orient takes that up. It moves away from the light. The florals are a little bit darker in it. The booze is amped up. There's a bit of oud. There's more leather in this one. The spices aren't quite as sweet. It's just this beautiful dark. It would smell up to me a bit like an apothecary, with all the leather books and all the dark sweet spices, etc. I just think it suits Willow. So for Willow is Bulgari's Man in Black. Next of the three kind of main people is Xander. And he's probably the hardest to scent. And I've gone for Swed off Sweden, and again I'll come to why. Now Xander is the one that throughout the story he doesn't acquire any special powers. He doesn't have any special gifts. He's the human. He's what you would call, maybe Willow's the heart, and because of her emotional reaction. Xander's the soul. He's the seer. He's the protector. I don't want to call him a father figure, but he fancies Buffy at first, etc. And he starts off again very geeky. He falls in love. He's got loads of issues with his parents and things that come through, and there's a real difficulty with emotion and expressing it and that. But he is deeply protective, not because they're kick-ass. He doesn't need to be protective, but he sees the bigger picture. He sees where they're going, and one thing Xander does is he always speaks again from his heart, from his soul. He speaks the truth, and ultimately, whether it's easy or not to take it, sometimes it's a bit of petulant jealousy or what have you, but it's generally because he wants to protect them. And again, the symbolism of him being the seer, the one who sees the big picture, the one who without, they wouldn't be together, they wouldn't be a family, they wouldn't be, you know what I mean? He also takes on the father role with Dawn when Buffy's mother dies. But anyway, his eye gets gouged out, and obviously you can only see through one eye, and that, if you like, is kind of symbolic of the reason they did that, is because that's what he is. He's the eyes and the soul. Anyway, why have I picked Sweden for him? Well, he likes to work with his hands. There's a certain amount of woodiness in there. He's a very manual person. He's very basic, if you like, not in a bad way. He understands he's not got the intelligence or the ability of the others, but he works hard and he's hands-on, and obviously that's all in Sweden. But also there's a sweetness, a kindness. It's to represent the lovely welcoming kindness of Sweden, and what Sweden represents. And I think again Xander could be that person. He's sweet, he's caring, he's warm, he's inviting, he's honest. It's not overcomplicated. He's just, he's the kind one. And thankfully Xander's a bit briefer, but Xander has his ups and downs. But in the end, he's still there. And he has a bad breakup, which he recovers from. Just about. But again, he maybe picks people that wouldn't have a future with. Like he dates the most popular girl in the first few series, and he's actually the one who cheats on her. maybe part of it's because he doesn't feel, it's not excusing him, he doesn't feel good enough. He's dating the girl everybody ever wanted to date, that's Cordelia, who won't be in this list because it has to be brief. But yeah, so that's Xander and Swedos. So the next character is the first kind of adult, and that's Giles, who has quite an interesting dark past, let's put it that way, and a similar past to the others. He was a rebellious teenager, he tried stuff and what have you before getting his calling as a watcher, which is ultimately, it's there to train them, to prepare them, to be quite harsh actually, and just to get them ready to die ultimately, because they all die and then the next Slayer comes along. It's their job to keep them as long as alive as long as possible. But Giles kind of being a kindly man ultimately, it's more than that to him. He kind of becomes a bit like Buffy's father, which is a little bit dangerous in a funny kind of way, because his caring for her doesn't allow her to develop as much as she should, and in the end he does realise that, and he moves on to give her the space. He does come back, but he does kind of not give up on her, but give her the space to grow a little bit, which is really important. And the fragrance I've picked for Giles is Encens Suave. I'll go into it a bit more with that. But yeah, Giles is, I think I've more or less said it all. His responsibility is to help the student, the Slayer, grow. And there's like a Watchers Council, which is like an overseers board, which we all know how corrupt etc they are and how they never really tell the truth and stuff. And he rebels a bit against that, because he cares for his Slayer, doesn't he? And there are some that come and go, that do things a bit differently, etc etc. Anyway, in the end, he's the one who comes back to kind of help defeat Willow. He feels responsible for that because, again, he let it get out of control again, being too step back and not stern enough. So yeah, that's Giles. And the reason I've picked Encens Suave is because it's one of them, it's like a very relaxing, calming, enveloping, lovely scent, you know what I mean? It's kind of one of them scents that gives you a hug and looks after you. But it's also obviously the incensey bit of it, obviously the dark arts and the mystical stuff, and it has the coffee in it, which gives it this dark side, which obviously Giles had. They were summoning demons and whatnot in their youth, and it is mature, but it's one of them, I think can be carefree. It's not mature in the sense that it's what you call an old person scent or anything like that. It's a grown-up scent, but it's one that really could suit anyone, and I think that again kind of perfectly suits Giles. So that's Encens Suave from Matière Première for Giles. Right, now I'm on the busiest road in the entire country now. It's just moved up here just because I'm walking along it. But the next character, she's part of the family, so she kind of has to be here. Although we'll just Dawn. Now Dawn is a very complicated character. What I've picked for her is Kiali's Juicy Apple. We'll come to that in a minute. Dawn is not. Dawn is Buffy's sister. She's introduced into the family as a sister, but she's not really. She's the embodiment of a key to a different dimension that is made into human form. But in the end, really, she is human, and she's kind of given that gift. Because she's inserted into the memories and the lives of everybody there. She always has been, if you like, even though she hasn't really. But yeah, she's complicated. And Dawn's quite young, younger than Buffy was when Buffy started. And she's quite spoilt and bratty. And her sister's a superhero. So that's quite hard to deal with, I imagine, for anyone, isn't it? Obviously all the attention goes to her, and then when she realises who she is and what she is, that obviously causes a few issues, because it's well, again, all she can remember is being a human and a sister and whatnot. And obviously then she loses her mum. So yeah, she has quite a difficult time of it. And the reason I picked Juicy Apple is because, yeah, she's at school. She's so the sort of person who would wear Juicy Apple. Juicy Apple isn't a favourite of mine from them, but it is exactly what it's meant to be. It's meant to take back to them kind of days with lockers in, I imagine, American-esque high schools where everyone's popular or not popular and all of that. Days where quiet country roads remain quiet country roads, and you can walk down them. If I wasn't talking, there'd be no traffic. You know, the good old days. Anyway, the reason that suits her is because it suits her personality and the time of life and everything she's going through. So for Dawn, don't need to waffle on. For Dawn is Kiali's Juicy Apple. Next is a character that's I could probably talk about for an hour. I'm not going to. Is Spike, who starts off as like, he is pretty evil and he stays evil, but he's kind of the nature of the beast, if you like. And there's a reason, as it develops through it, why nobody can see this, but why Buffy is more forgiving of him is because, well, until towards the end, he is a beast. He is evil. It's his nature and it's instinctive, and he can't help it. As much as he tries to be good, tries to do good things, the evil in him takes over. But he's also, you know, he's a bit of comic relief. He's the most amusing character. And he's, you know, the person he's originally with, Drusilla, is very messed up. Spike also, not that you'd ever believe it, is the most successful, if you like, of the vampires. I think he's killed 3 slayers, including one of the characters that comes in it later on's mother. And he's kind of stuck in this kind of 80s look with his bleached hair and stuff, which is yeah, and he does very bizarre things, and he's very obsessive and very controlling almost. He does have a very dark side to him, the beast, if you like, which doesn't excuse his behaviour, but when you're looking at it from outside, that kind of is what it's about. Picking a fragrance for Spike is really difficult, and I've gone for Portrait of a Lady in a way because it's similar to Buffy. He is like, not the anti-Buffy, but there are so many similarities between the two of them. The demons they fight internally, etc. And Portrait of a Lady is another patchouli rose, but this one is much more of it's a much earthier one. It's not darker, but it's more earthy. It's more about the patchouli, and the rose is not particularly a sweet one. It's more of a green natural rose, and I think that gives the kind of the beastly part of Spike. And he's a very interesting, the way he, in the end, even he sacrifices himself, but he kind of has to. It's kind of all been leaning up to that, his journey, because some of the things Spike is guilty of is unforgivable, and it's his penance, his redemption is to save the world, even if it doesn't really do that. So yeah, for Spike, Portrait of a Lady. Now yeah, you can see the lights kind of dropped a bit, but I'm quite determined to get this done. There won't be any cars in here, there might be chavs, who knows. But yeah, the next person is Tara. I've already kind of spoken about her briefly. I think she's one of my favourite characters. Not a big part, and not very, you know, flashy and what have you, but actually I think that's part of her charm. She is very important in the story, and because she's the outsider of the group, if you like, she very much feels like that. And again, this is going through them them angst and them messages, you know, a partner, do they always get on with the group, etc. But Tara very much does once she kind of fits in and balances Willow a bit. But Tara comes from, again, quite a broken home. She's got a bit of this kind of mystical witchiness in her, which could be her family kind of disown her and put her down and saying that, you know, she's not normal and things like that. And I think obviously a bit of that is a bit of an unsubtle allegory to her gayness, her homosexuality, which her family are not happy with. And the reason, again, I think she's such an important part of the story is her and Willow is such a beautiful, perfect love story, if you like. They have their ups and downs with the supportiveness and Tara's complete pacificity, her genuine warmth and kindness. When she does something wrong, there's a reason she's done it. Anyway, what I've picked for Tara, I'm going to go into loads of detail, is Ombre Nui. And that's because, again, to me, that's just this most beautiful fragrance. It's very smooth and rounded. And it's the rose and it's ambergris, amber, whatever it is. It just adds that little bit of a musky, beautiful edge to it. And the woods under it, and it does have a kind of mystical energy about it. There's the powderiness of it, and it's just very beautiful. It's not loud, it's not shouty, it's not out there. It's not gonna get you noticed in a crowd or whatever. But when you get close to it, you understand the pure beauty and different levels of complexity in it as well. And I think that kind of, again, just relates to Tara really, really well. And obviously her dying triggers a whole storm, doesn't it, if you like, and brings a lot of things that were coming to a head. So yeah, that's Ombre Nui from Dior. So next is a character that's quite hard to get very excited about. That's being polite. I was going to leave him till the end, but he is kind of a main character. He's good in his own series. Now you know who it is. It's Angel. David Boreanaz, or Boreanaz, however you say his name, he's not a bad actor, and he obviously went on to do other things and stuff. There's something about Angel in Buffy that's quite he's a vampire with a soul. He was punished and he had a soul put in him. Now it's actually he's part of some of the most emotional, better storylines in it. He was punished very severely for what he did, and he is made to suffer again and again and again, which is probably why he's such a miserable and then when he turns evil, he's particularly cruel and vindictive, which is why you can understand why they did what they did to him. And obviously he becomes Buffy's boyfriend, you know, the forbidden fruit, the older man, who is quite jealous and a little too protective, I suppose. But obviously all of the stuff, he becomes obviously very manipulative when he loses his soul again, and he uses all of that, and quite cruel. But again, he helps Buffy really grow as a character, and he helps the other characters come closer and grow as well. Plus, yeah, he suffers a lot for what he does. But what I've picked for Angel is more moving towards the darker, more interesting Angel. Is Anubis. Obviously he's a vampire, and he's very old, and he probably smells very dusty and mysterious and burning incense and dry. Obviously it's got the leather as well. I could have gone for something predictable like ombre leather, which is I love the fragrance, but it's probably about as, you know, interested as he is. It's not a very exciting scent as much as it is, but I went for Anubis. I just think it suits him. Again, it's that kind of ancientness about him. The smells, imagine a vampire to smell quite like Anubis. And when he is bad, he is a lot more interesting and exciting and layered, like Anubis is. So yeah, for an Angel is Papillons. So next is a pretty important character and another Slayer. who comes into being after Kendra's killed. Kendra only exists because Buffy died, obviously, and then came back. It's complicated. But anyway, Faith is a kind of very messed up. She's not had the best of training at being a Slayer and all of that, and she's the opposite of Buffy. She's chaos, I suppose, to Buffy's kind of straightness, and she goes through quite a journey and goes very deep. She murders someone, let's put it like that, and kind of she has an eternal search for a father figure, and obviously she chooses the wrong guy, who's the mayor, who in fairness does care for her deeply. He's trying to manipulate and use her, but he does care for her, and that kind of comes through as well. She's kind of, yeah, she does everything I suppose a bit of Buffy wishes she could, and there is an episode where they switch bodies and both understand each other a bit better. You do kind of think Faith is a bit of a wrong un, but you understand as it goes round that there's so much more to her, and her redemption comes in Angel more so than Buffy. But yeah, anyway, what I've picked for her is Killian's Sweet Redemption, and I think it's just perfect for her. Sweet Redemption is a little bit like Love Don't Be Shy, but it's darker. It's got some resins in it, might even have a touch of leather and stuff, but it's just this really dark orange blossomy fragrance, and it's got, with them seductive kind of little naughty tinges in it, it brings this kind of to a rounded kind of, if you like, bad girl, bad boy fragrance, from the more kind of bubblegum poppy one, if you like. If Buffy was Love Don't Be Shy, then Faith would be Sweet Redemption. And I think it perfectly encapsulates her personality and her story. Obviously the darkness, but the sweetness and the goodness in her, the kind of sensual, beautiful musks and all of that. And I think it's a beautiful fragrance, and yeah, it's great for Faith. Quick one, this. That's Faith, Killian's Sweet Redemption. And the last one is Anyanka, who had to be in it really. She comes in it later on, but she ends up dating Xander, but ultimately she's a vengeance demon for women, and if a man breaks a woman's heart, she comes to torture them, not necessarily kill them, but to torture them, put them through the same hell as the woman's going through. Now obviously this has deep consequences, and it isn't always deliberate what the person wanted, but Anya, in fact I think she comes because of Cordelia's breakup with Xander, or she was about a bit before that, but that's when she kind of becomes more of a main character, and you can see the consequences of getting revenge doesn't always make you feel better. That's kind of the point of that. But anyway, as Anya develops, she kind of loses her demon skills, if you like, because she fails at something and she's punished. But she's kind of the naive one, not childlike in the sense of she's childlike, but her personality wise and her not being able to understand the fragilities of human, the social norms. She just kind of literally says what's on her mind, and it makes her really quite a charming character, but also quite vulnerable and quite delicate. And obviously Xander and his attraction to demons and such, like they have a great relationship, but in the end, because Xander doesn't really think he's good enough, he thinks it's going to make him miserable. Not an excuse again, the marriage is off and she's heartbroken and she wants, all of that stuff, and she does daft stuff, and in the end she sacrifices herself to save someone she doesn't really like very much. But it just shows again she kind of develops as a person. Now I've picked a weird one because it was really hard to think of what will go with her. Now she has a fear, a massive fear of rabbits. So that made me think of spring, and I thought it needs to be yellow floral, so I've gone for Reflection from Masque Milano, which is the yellowest, brightest fragrance ever. I think it kind of suits her kind of gay abandon, her pleasure and joy in learning everything, living it, like I say, like growing as a child a little bit, experiencing things for the first time. It's just this very bright, very yellow, almost white like yellow, beautiful fragrance, and it just suits her. And it's just a little bit ironic, as she probably hates it, because she hates fluffy, joyful things. So yeah, for Anya is Masque Milano's Riff. Now obviously I realise this video is a little on the niche side. Again, Buffy is so long ago, but it is such a kind of important TV series to me. Not only did it kind of, you can take a lot from it as you grow up with it, but just kind of it helped me at university discover my main skill. There's a squirrel there. And the kind of the sort of ability to analyse and see things. Anyway, that's boring. But yeah, and it has such a wealth of brilliant characters, and characters I think we can all relate to. I don't know if we can see that, can we? No, he's gone. Well, he's up there. It's a black squirrel. Well, it looks black, so it's obviously some wet grey squirrel. Anyway, again, Anya would probably not like that. But yeah, it's just a great series, and I recommend everyone to watch it at least twice. And you might think, oh, it's really, it's for that age group and what have you. Maybe because I grew up in that era, I can kind of relate to it more. But I think anyone who's been that sort of an adolescent growing into an adult will be able to relate to it. It's not just some bird in skimpy outfits staking scary monsters. It might start a little bit like that, but actually there's so much to it. Anyway, I'm waffling. How would you scent these characters? What was kind of the TV show of your kind of moving into adulthood? Alright, thanks folks. Bye.